Hello, and welcome to my mid morning show. Remember that great saying in the Bible which says, Love thy neighbor? Yes. Before you love thy neighbor, make sure your neighbor loves you. Now, love in a different sense. What kind of a neighbor should you be to be loved by your neighbor? Number one, be friendly. It's so important because anything happens, the first person around is always the neighbor. Be friendly. And next thing is be trustworthy. Quite often, you might have to go somewhere, leave your dog behind, or leave your child behind. It's good to have a trustworthy neighbor. So, yourself be a trustworthy neighbor. Next thing, be mature. Don't squabble over stupid, silly things like, oh, you left the car door open, or you dirtied the place. All right, you can always say it nicely. Next thing is respect your neighbor. They may come from a different faith, they may have different eating habits, living habits. Respect it. Diversity is the rule of life. And when a neighbor is in need, be available because quite probable that you may need the neighbor also at some time. In other words, a neighbor is like a sibling. You live together in different houses, of course, but you live in the same locality. You have the same issues, environmental issues, or anything else. So, if you are friendly, if you're respectful, and if you're quiet, don't make so much noise that it bothers the neighbor. Tell your children also to speak softly. You speak softly. And don't have loud fights at home so that even your neighbor can hear you. Because these days, houses are so close by that if you sneeze, your neighbor can hear you. It's good to have a nice, friendly environment where you live. Don't you think so? So be a good neighbor first, and then you can expect the same from your neighbor. Somebody moves in, offer them tea, coffee, or whatever till they settle down. And definitely no borrowing. It can become a nuisance to have a neighbor who just drops in for a bit of sugar, a bit of tea leaves, a little bit of milk. Once in a while, it's okay. Not all the time. And if you do borrow, make sure you return the compliment in some other way. You don't have to return the same amount of tea leaves or sugar or whatever. You can give them a piece of cake that you've baked. You know, especially in this pandemic era, being good neighbors is a great blessing. Even if you can stand at your balcony or your door and wave out to each other with social distance, even that is very, very heartwarming. Don't you think so? So, happy neighbor. Are you a good neighbor? Stay fit, stay happy, stay a good neighbor, and I'll meet you again. Tagda raho.